What if I told you the 2026 Ioniq 5 is basically the same EV as the 2025, but with thousands of dollars knocked off the sticker price? Same platform, same motor options, same battery, same range, but Hyundai quietly went in and sliced the MSRP by roughly 9 grand on average for 2026. So today we're breaking down the 2025 versus 2026 Ioniq 5, what actually changed, what hasn't, how Hyundai pulled this off, and most importantly, which model year you should buy so you don't leave money on the table. Plus, I'll show you how to use quotes.everymandriver.com to compare real offers on both model years in your zip code so you can see in black and white which one's the smarter buy. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Dave with Everyman Driver. If you're new here, I help you drive smarter and pay less with real world car reviews, buying strategies, and a little tough love for the auto industry. If that sounds like your kind of thing, hit subscribe and tap that like button so YouTube actually shows this to other shoppers who are about to overpay for an EV. All right, 2025 versus 2026 Ioniq 5. On paper, it looks confusing because automakers love playing with trims, options, package names, but when you strip that away, the story is actually really simple. Mechanically, these two model years are almost identical. Financially, 2026 is a big reset. First, quick refresher on the Ioniq 5 in case you're just starting your research. Hyundai's Ioniq 5 rides on their dedicated eGMP platform. That means proper EV only architecture, high voltage system for fast charging, a long wheelbase, short overhangs as you see, and that cool retro futuristic hatchback look. Mine is actually the XRT trim. Powertrain wise, both give you basically the same options. A standard range single motor rear wheel drive model with modest power, a long range rear wheel drive model with more battery and more horsepower, and a dual motor all wheel drive version that cranks the power up into that 300 horsepower ballpark range. Speaking of range, very similar between the 2 years. The best case rear wheel drive version still lands north of 300 miles on a full charge in EPA estimates. The dual motor all wheel drive version sits lower but still very competitive in this EV space. Inside, you got that minimalist two-screen setup, 12.3-inch gauge cluster, 12.3-inch infotainment, plus a flat floor, sliding console, and a pretty airy feel overall. The takeaway, you're not choosing between a new generation and an old generation. You're choosing between two very similar EVs, separated mostly by pricing and features on specific trims. All right, so where things get interesting is the price. Hyundai looked at the EV market, looked at interest rates, looked at the fact that EV tax credits have been changing and said, we need to adjust. So for 2026, they basically took the 2025 Ioniq 5, kept the same fundamentals, and then cut the MSRP. That's unheard of, right? Depending on trim, we're talking about roughly $7,600 to almost $10,000 shaved off the sticker, with an average price drop somewhere around 9 grand versus the equivalent 2025 model. Now, that doesn't mean every dealer in America is going to hand you the keys with a bow on it, but if you look at the 2025 SE standard range versus a 2026 SE standard range, the 2026 typically starts thousands cheaper, and this pattern shows up across the line. The 2026 is now positioned as a much more aggressively priced EV in a market where buyers are suddenly getting very picky. So you're probably wondering, why is Hyundai doing this? Well, a few reasons. EV incentives have shifted. Some versions of the Ioniq 5 lost access to federal tax credits or only qualify under certain conditions. Dropping sticker price is one way to keep it attractive. There is competition, which has intensified. Tesla, Ford, GM, everybody has been adjusting EV prices. Hyundai couldn't just sit still. And there's also buyer fatigue. People are tired of hearing $50,000 is the new normal. If you want regular buyers to adopt EVs, you have to bring those numbers down. So from a shopper's point of view, it's very fair to say the 2026 is the same core EV as the 2025 model, just rebased at a lower price. And that's why this video exists, because if you're going to a dealership uninformed, you might end up overpaying for a 2025 on the lot when a cheaper 2026 will do the same job. Okay, so if battery, range, and motors are basically the same, what did Hyundai change for 2026? Here's break it down. First, charging. Both model years still have that 800-volt architecture, so very fast DC charging times when you're in a high-powered charger. Competitive charge curve versus most rivals in this price class. The big everyday change for 2026 is Hyundai now throws in a dual level 1 and level 2 charging cable as standard. In plain English, on a 2025, from the factory, you basically got a slow level 1 cord you plug into a normal wall outlet. On a 2026, like you see here, you get a cord that can handle both household outlets and 240-volt level 2 setups, making it easier to plug into a home EVSE or higher power plug without having to buy an extra cable. Is that a massive game changer? Not mechanically, but as an owner, it's one of those little convenience wins that you'd otherwise pay extra for. Behind the scenes, there's also been a battery supply shuffle. Hyundai shifted from one pack supplier to another, but the capacity and performance remain basically the same. You're still getting the same advertised battery sizes, same range estimates, same overall performance. This is the kind of thing you never notice as a driver. It's more about manufacturing, sourcing, and cost control on Hyundai's side than anything else. For 2026, Hyundai also plays with color options and trims a bit. There are new or expanded colors like Sage, Silver, Matte. Same colors that were limited to certain trims in 2025 became available more broadly in 2026. So if you're picky about paint or you've seen that one specific color in promo photos, 2026 can actually make it a little easier to spec that car that you saw online. Now here's where you really want to pay attention. Hyundai moves some features around between the trims. This is the part most buyers never hear about. On trims like SEL and Limited, you see things like the SEL model in 2026 switching the projector style LED headlights to MFR type LEDs. It loses power folding mirrors as standard, and the Hyundai Digital Key 2 premium feature moves up the ladder, so it's no longer standard on SEL. The Limited trim for 2026 gains nice touches like heater rear outboard seats, offer a more advanced rear occupant alert that uses radar rather than just door logic. Is that a deal breaker? Not necessarily, but it means if you liked a 2025 SEL because it had a certain combination of goodies and you just assume that the 2026 SEL is the same package, you might be surprised to find those features have moved to a higher trim or changed slightly. So we can say the 2025 and 2026 IONIQ 5s share the same bones, but the feature packaging is different. And that's why you never want to shop this stuff in a hurry. Let's talk XRT and towing real quickly. This is the trim I have because this is where everyday use meets spec sheet. The XRT trim is the more rugged, outdoorsy flavored vehicle. Unique wheels, as you see, slightly tougher visual vibe, and tuned more for that adventure aesthetic than pure efficiency. For 2026, one detail that matters, the tow hitch that may have been standard or commonly bundled before is now an option on the XRT, not always built in. So if you plan to tow small trailers, haul bikes on a hitch rack, or just want that flexibility for resale value, you'll want to double check that exact 2026 XRT you're looking at actually has a tow package included and not assume it's standard. All right, let's answer the question you actually care about. Dave, should I buy a discounted 2025 IONIQ 5 or go straight for the 2026? Here's how I'd break it down. Consider a 2025 if there is a heavily discounted leftover unit on the lot. I'm talking big money off MSRP, not just a token rebate. Realistically, you should be aiming to erase that price gap to the 2026 version. It has a feature combo that you love. Maybe a 2025 SEL has power folding mirrors and digital key that you care about, and a 2026 SEL doesn't. You can stack dealer discounts, manufacturer incentives, and possibly financing deals in a way that undercuts what a comparably equipped 2026 would cost you. If and only if that math works out in your favor, hey, 2025 can absolutely be a good buy. But you have to go in with a calculator, not just your feelings. For most shoppers, honestly, the 2026 IONIQ 5 is the default answer. You get the same platform, same range, same powertrains, the updated charging cable setup, which is huge, fresh colors, and the full latest software packaging, and most importantly, a lower starting price baked into the sticker. If you're not chasing some specific 2025 only feature and you're staring at a unicorn leftover deal that's thousands of dollars cheaper, the logical move is take the 2026 and enjoy that price reset. Now let's make this practical. If you really want to know which one makes sense in your exact situation, 2025 versus 2026, here's what I would do. Open a tab to quotes.everymandriver.com or click the link in the description below. Plug in your zip code, search for Hyundai IONIQ 5 and do two separate searches, one for 2025 inventory and one for 2026 inventory. You'll start seeing actual dealer quotes show up, not just MSRP. Then compare, is that leftover 2025 really thousands cheaper than a similarly equipped 2026? Or is it just sitting there at nearly the same price hoping someone doesn't do their homework? If the price gap isn't significant, there's almost no reason to take a 2025. But if you see a dealer with a 2025 fire sale, then yeah, you might walk away with a fantastic deal. This site is free. It takes about 30 seconds, and I've heard from tons of people who save some serious money before ever going to a dealership. Sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands. It's just that easy. There's also a direct link below, so get started today. To wrap up, 2025 and 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 5 share the same basic DNA, same platform, range, and powertrains. The 2026 is the price reset, lower MSRPs, small equipment reshuffles, that bundled level 1, level 2 charging cable, and fresh color options. A 2025 only makes sense if you're getting a big discount or a specific feature combo that 2026 no longer offers at the same trim level. Otherwise, take the 2026, enjoy the cheaper sticker, and don't overthink it. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you go for a deeply discounted 2025, or do you like the idea of a fresh 2026 with the lower MSRP? And if you already own an IONIQ 5, what's been your real-world experience? Range, charging, any issues? Drop your stories in the comments, and I might feature some of your experiences in a future EV video.
You can save $50 right now on the Nuvio Recovery Chiller. It works with any tub, bathtub, cold tub, indoors or out. Just plug it in, set the temperature, and start plunging. Use my code below and grab your deal today. One final note, if you are in the market for a new vehicle soon, great. Connect with your local dealership and price and test drive at least 3 different vehicles. A vehicle's strengths and weaknesses can only be discovered when you are behind the wheel. My reviews can be good, but you need to test drive these yourself. Visit quotes.everymandriver.com, select the make, model, and your zip code, and you'll get invoice pricing in your area on those vehicles. Shop smarter with price quotes at quotes.everymandriver.com.